My son abandoned his own baby on my doorstep the day of his wife's funeral. He left a note saying he was going to restart his life with another woman. 20 years later, he appeared in my living room demanding half of my grandson's fortune. What happened next left everyone speechless. Before I continue, I would really love to know which state or country you are watching me from. Comment down below so I know how far my story has traveled. Today I am 72 years old, but the day that changed my life forever happened when I was 52. It was a Tuesday in March, cold and rainy. I had just returned from the cemetery, still dressed in black, my eyes swollen from crying so much. Not for myself, but for my son, Caleb, and for the baby who had just lost his mother. Jenna, my daughter-in-law, was only 28 years old when a brain aneurysm took her without warning. One day she was playing with her 6-month-old son at the park in Chicago. The next day, she was in a coma. 3 days later, we held the funeral. It was the most painful thing I have ever witnessed, seeing my son carrying that baby during the burial, looking completely lost, as if the world had collapsed on top of him. "Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do," he told me that morning before we left for the service. "How am I going to raise Ethan alone? How am I going to work, pay the bills, take care of him?" I held my son's hands and told him what any mother would say. "We are going to get through this together. I will help you with whatever you need." But I had no idea what was coming. I arrived home around 5 p.m. I had lived alone since my husband passed away 8 years prior, in a modest but comfortable apartment in a working-class neighborhood where I had spent my entire life. I worked as a private tutor, giving reading and math lessons at home to children and teenagers. I didn't earn much, but it was enough for my simple needs. I kicked off the black heels that were hurting my feet and put water on to boil, thinking of making some tea. That was when I heard it. A weak, muffled cry coming from the hallway outside my apartment. My heart raced. I opened the door in such a rush, I almost tripped. There was Ethan, my 6-month-old grandson, in his car seat, crying desperately. He was wearing the same little white outfit he had worn to his mother's funeral just hours before, all alone in the freezing hallway of the building. Ethan, oh my God. I grabbed the car seat and pulled him inside, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. How was he here? Where was Caleb? What had happened? I picked Ethan up, and he curled into my shoulder, still sobbing. He was wet, hungry, and shivering from the cold. That was when I saw a duffel bag next to where the car seat had been. Inside were some diapers, 2 bottles, a can of formula, and a white envelope with my name written in my son's unmistakable handwriting. My legs went weak. I sat on the sofa, still holding Ethan, and tore open the envelope with one hand. The letter was handwritten, scrawled in the nervous script of someone in a hurry or someone afraid. "Mom, forgive me. I can't do this. I can't look at Ethan without seeing Jenna. I can't live in this city, in this house, with all these memories. I need to leave, to start over. I met someone, Vanessa. She helped me get through these difficult months while Jenna was sick. We are leaving for Houston, where she got me a job. I know you will take good care of Ethan. You were always an incredible mother. Be an incredible grandmother to him now. Don't try to look for me. I need time, Caleb." I read that letter 1, 2, 3 times. Every word was like a stab wound. My son, the boy I raised alone after his father died, the man I watched weep at his wife's funeral that very morning, had abandoned his own child on my doorstep like an unwanted package. And there was another woman, Vanessa. While Jenna was dying in the hospital, while she fought for her life, my son was with someone else. The disgust I felt in that moment was so intense I thought I was going to vomit. Ethan was crying in my lap, and I realized he was soaked. I needed to change his diaper, bathe him, feed him. But how? I hadn't taken care of a baby in 30 years. I had no crib, no baby bathtub, no clothes. I had only the few items Caleb had left in the bag, clearly insufficient for more than a day. That night was a nightmare. Ethan cried almost non-stop. I tried to feed him the bottle, but he rejected it. I tried to soothe him, but nothing worked. At 3 a.m., I called a neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, who had young grandchildren. "Mrs. Higgins," I said when she answered, my voice cracking. "I don't know what to do." "Ethan won't stop crying." Mrs. Higgins came over immediately in her bathrobe and slippers. She took the baby, examined him, and sighed. "Sylvia, this baby has colic and probably reflux. You need to change the formula." And look at how he's tensing his little body. He's stressed. He feels his mother's anguish, or rather, he feels yours. He lost his mom this morning, and his father abandoned him with me, I said, my voice breaking. Mrs. Higgins looked at me with an expression that mixed shock and compassion. She didn't ask anything else that night. She just helped me calm Ethan down, taught me how to massage his tummy, and showed me how to hold him in a position that alleviated the reflux. At 5 a.m., Ethan finally fell asleep, exhausted. I put him on my sofa, surrounded by cushions so he wouldn't roll off, and sat on the floor beside him, watching. That defenseless little baby had lost his mother and been abandoned by his father, all in the same day. What kind of life would this be for him? How would I, a 52-year-old woman living off tutoring gigs, manage to raise a child? I grabbed my phone and dialed Caleb's number. It rang until it went to voicemail. I called again, same thing. I sent texts, no answer. I tried all that week, nothing. My son had vanished, and I was left with the responsibility of raising the grandson he didn't want. In the following days, reality began to hit me like an avalanche. I needed money, a lot of money. Diapers cost a fortune. The special formula Ethan needed was expensive. Baby clothes, medicine, doctor visits. I was making about $2,000 a month with my tutoring, and my rent was $1,500. That left only $500 for everything else: food, utilities, transportation. There was no way to support a baby on that. I tried to contact Jenna's family, but I discovered she was an only child, and her parents had died in a car accident years prior. There was no one else. Jenna and Caleb had met in college, married young, and built a life together until life separated them in the cruelest way possible. I called a lawyer friend asking about child support, about how to force Caleb to assume responsibility. He explained it would be a long, expensive process, and that I would need to locate Caleb first. Without an address, without knowing where he was in Houston, there wasn't much to be done. The first week with Ethan was a whirlwind of desperation and forced learning. I woke up every 2 hours to feed him, changed diapers all day, and burned through the $1,000 I had saved for emergencies in just the first 10 days. I bought a used crib, clothes from the thrift store, and started rationing my own food to ensure there was money left for Ethan's formula. My students began to notice the change. Some were surprised to see a baby in my living room during lessons. I tried to teach with Ethan in my arms or in the playpen beside me, but he would always wake up crying in the middle of grammar explanations or math problems. 2 students canceled, saying they couldn't concentrate with the noise. "Miss Sylvia, you understand our situation, right?" said the mother of one of the girls. "My daughter has ADHD. She needs a quiet environment." I understood, but every student I lost meant less money at the end of the month. Less money meant less food, fewer diapers, less security. It was Mrs. Higgins who saved me in those first weeks. She came over every day, bringing clothes her grandkids had outgrown. She taught me tricks to soothe Ethan. She stayed with him while I taught a few classes. "Sylvia, you can't do this alone," she told me. "That boy needs structure, routine, full-time care." "I know," I replied, always on the verge of tears. "But what can I do? I can't just dump him in foster care. He's my grandson. He's the only family I have left." And it was true. After my husband died, and now that Caleb had abandoned me too, Ethan was all I had. But raising a baby at 52, alone, without resources, was destroying me physically and emotionally. 1 month after the abandonment, I received a call from an unknown number. My heart raced. "Was it Caleb?" I answered, my hands shaking. "Hello? Sylvia?" It was the voice of a young, insecure woman. "Who is this?" "It's Vanessa, Caleb's girlfriend." Blood rushed to my head. "Girlfriend?" "He is married. Or rather, he was. His wife died a month ago." "I know," she said quietly. "Look, I don't want to fight. I'm just calling because Caleb asked me to. He wants to know how Ethan is." "How is Ethan?" My voice came out louder than I intended, and Ethan, who was sleeping, woke up startled and began to cry. "How do you think he is?" "He was abandoned by his father. He is being raised by a grandmother who can barely pay the bills." There was silence on the other end. Then I heard muffled voices, as if she had covered the phone. When she returned, her voice was even lower. Caleb wants you to know that he won't be able to help financially right now. He's starting a new job. He needs to get on his feet first." "Get on his feet?" I almost screamed. "And his son?" "He doesn't think about how his own son is going to get on his feet, how he's going to eat, dress, have a roof over his head." "Sylvia, I understand your anger, but you don't understand." I hung up on her. My hands were shaking so much the phone almost fell. Ethan was crying harder now, and I picked him up, rocking him, while my own tears fell onto his little body. That night, after putting Ethan down, I sat at the kitchen table and did the math. My income had dropped to $1,200 a month since I lost several students. Rent consumed more than that. Diapers, special formula, doctor copays, vaccines, clothes. I was drowning in debt. I began to sell my belongings. First, it was the jewelry my husband had given me over years of marriage. I got about $800 for everything, which gave me a breather for a month. Then I sold the television, the microwave, rare books I had owned for decades. Every sale was like ripping out a piece of myself, but Ethan needed to eat. When Ethan turned 6 months under my care, making him 1 year old, I was unrecognizable. I had lost 25 pounds. I had deep dark circles under my eyes. My hair, which I used to dye monthly, was now completely white. I looked like I had aged 10 years. But Ethan was healthy, growing, starting to smile, and that smile was worth every sacrifice. It was around that time that I met Dr. Robinson, a pediatrician at the community clinic. She noticed my state during a routine checkup for Ethan. "Miss Sylvia, are you eating well?" she asked, concerned. "I'm fine," I lied. "No, you're not. You are very thin, pale, and those dark circles. When was the last time you slept a full night?" I began to weep right there in the exam room. I couldn't hold it back. Dr. Robinson closed the door, sat beside me, and listened as I told her everything. The abandonment, the financial struggles, the despair. "Miss Sylvia, have you thought about seeking state assistance? There are social programs, WIC, and survivor benefits from Social Security for children who have lost a parent." I didn't know. I hadn't thought about it. Dr. Robinson gave me the contact of a social worker who helped me fill out the necessary forms. 3 months later, I began to receive a monthly check for Ethan's support. It wasn't much, but it made a difference. It was the difference between eating or not eating on some days of the month. But what really changed our situation was a flyer I saw at the grocery store. A wealthy family was looking for a private tutor for their 3 children, 6 days a week. The pay was excellent, $4,500 a month. The problem was the hours, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. "I can't leave Ethan alone that much," I told Mrs. Higgins when I told her about the opening. "I'll stay with him," she replied without hesitation. "Sylvia, you need this job. I know how much you are suffering. Leave Ethan with me. I'll take care of him as if he were my own grandson." And that was how our routine began for the next few years. During the midday break, I was with Ethan. In the mornings and evenings, I left him with Mrs. Higgins and went to the Harrington family's estate to tutor their children. I was exhausted, working long days, but finally, I could pay the bills and even save a little. Ethan grew fast. By age 2, he was a chatty, curious boy full of energy. He called me Nana and had no idea he had a father somewhere in the world. I told him that Mommy and Daddy had gone to heaven, that they lived with the angels, and that was why Nana took care of him. It was easier that way, easier than explaining that his father had abandoned him. When Ethan turned 3, he started asking questions that broke my heart. "Nana, why don't I have a mommy like the other kids at the park?" We were at the playground, and he had just seen a young mother pushing her daughter on the swing, covering her face with kisses. I sat on the bench and pulled Ethan onto my lap. "My love, you did have a mommy. She was beautiful, loving, and she loved you very much. But she got sick and went to live in heaven before you grew up. That's why Nana takes care of you and loves you just as much as any mommy would." "And Daddy? Did he go to heaven too?" That question was always harder to answer. How could I explain that his father was alive but had chosen not to be part of his life? Daddy had to go to a place very far away, but you have Nana, and Nana will never leave you." Ethan hugged me tight, and I felt my heart shatter and rebuild itself at the same time. That boy was everything to me. I worked until I dropped, lived with the minimum, sacrificed everything, But when Ethan hugged me and said, "I love you, Nana," nothing else mattered. Years passed. Ethan started school, and I juggled finances to pay for supplies, uniforms, and activities. He was smart, very smart. Teachers were always calling me to say how he stood out in class. "Miss Sylvia, Ethan has a special talent for math and science. Have you thought about enrolling him in advanced placement programs or extracurriculars?" I thought about it. Of course, I thought about it. But extra classes cost money I didn't have. I could barely cover the basics, so I taught Ethan myself at home. I borrowed books from the library, researched on the internet at cyber cafes, and spent nights preparing activities to stimulate his mind. When Ethan was 7, something happened that changed everything. I was tutoring the Harrington children when Mr. Harrington, the father, called me in to talk. "Miss Sylvia, my wife and I have observed your dedication to our children. Their progress has been exceptional. We also know a bit about your personal history, about your grandson." My stomach tightened. I didn't like discussing my personal life with my employers. "Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I'm glad you're satisfied. Look, we have a proposal. My company is opening a headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, and we are moving there. We would like to take you with us. We would pay for an apartment for you near our new house. We'd increase your salary to $6,000 a month, and your only obligation would be to continue tutoring our children." $6,000 a month was more than I had ever earned in my life. With that money, I could give Ethan a dignified life. I could put him in better programs, pay for sports, have some financial peace. "I accept," I answered without thinking twice. The move to Atlanta happened 2 months later. It was hard to leave Mrs. Higgins, who had been my salvation during all those years. On the day of the farewell, we both cried, hugging each other. "You were an angel in my life," I told her. "I don't know what would have become of me and Ethan without you." "You two are going to be happy in Atlanta," she replied, wiping her tears. "You deserve this opportunity. And Ethan is going to go far, Sylvia. That boy is special." Atlanta was a new beginning. The apartment the Harringtons rented for us was simple, but clean, modern, and safe. For the first time in years, I had a room just for me, and Ethan had his own bedroom. I managed to enroll him in a good public school, and with the new salary, I could buy him decent clothes and pay for the soccer lessons he wanted so much. Ethan flourished in Atlanta. He made friends and stood out even more in school. At age 10, he won a state math competition and brought home a trophy that I placed on the mantel in the living room. "I am so proud of you, my love," I said, hugging him. "When I grow up, I'm going to make a lot of money and buy a big house for us, Nana, and you won't have to work anymore." I laughed, but my heart squeezed, not with sadness, but with love. That boy who was abandoned as if he were worthless was growing up to become an incredible person. During all these years, Caleb never showed a sign of life. No calls, no letters, no attempt at contact. It was as if Ethan simply didn't exist to him. I was angry, of course I was, but I also learned to put that anger aside. Carrying a grudge only hurt me, and I needed all my energy to take care of Ethan. When Ethan was 12, something unexpected happened. We were at home on a Saturday afternoon when my cell phone rang. It was an unknown number, but with a local Atlanta area code. I answered without thinking much. "Sylvia." The voice was familiar but strange at the same time, older, tired. "Who is this?" "It's me, Caleb." My blood ran cold. 12 years. 12 years without a word, and now he was calling as if nothing had happened. "What do you want?" My voice came out colder than I intended, but I couldn't control it. "Mom, I need to talk to you in person. It's important." "Important? Now it's important, after 12 years of abandoning your child?" "Please, Mom, just give me a chance to explain. Can we meet?" Part of me wanted to hang up, block the number, pretend that call never happened. But another part, the part that still remembered the boy he was before he became the man who abandoned his own son, wanted to listen, wanted to understand. "Fine, but Ethan cannot know. He thinks you're dead." There was a heavy silence on the other line. Then Caleb's broken voice, "Dead? What did you expect? That I tell him his father abandoned him because he was with another woman? That I destroy the image he has of you? It was easier to tell him you died along with Jenna." "I understand. When can we meet?" "Tomorrow at 3 p.m. at Centennial Park." "Alone?" "Ethan will be at a friend's house." I spent the whole night awake. 1,000 thoughts raced through my head. Why was Caleb coming back now? What did he want? Had he finally developed a conscience, or was it something worse? On Sunday morning, I got Ethan ready to go to his friend's house and went to the meeting with my heart racing. I arrived at the park at 2:45, 15 minutes early. I sat on a bench and watched the people pass by. Happy families, children playing, couples holding hands, everything Ethan never had with his parents. At 3 sharp, I saw Caleb approaching. I gasped. He looked so different. Thin, very thin. His hair was graying at the temples, his clothes were worn, and he had a tired look in his eyes. Nothing like the handsome, lively young man I knew. He seemed to have aged 20 years and 12. "Hi, Mom," he said, standing in front of me, unsure if he should hug me or not. "Sit down," I replied, offering no hug. He sat beside me, keeping a respectful distance. We stayed in silence for a few seconds until he spoke. "Are you okay? You look younger than the last time I saw you." "I'm fine. Ethan is fine. That's all that matters." "Ethan," he repeated his son's name as if savoring it. "How is he? What is he like? Why do you want to know? Why, after 12 years, do you show up wanting to know about your son?" Caleb took a deep breath, and I saw tears forming in his eyes. "Because I made the biggest mistake of my life, Mom. Because not a day goes by that I don't regret what I did. Regret is easy, Caleb. What's hard is raising a child alone, without money, without help, not knowing if you're going to be able to put food on the table the next day. I know, and I wish I could go back in time and change everything, but I can't. Why did you do it, Caleb? Why did you abandon your son on the day of his mother's funeral? What kind of father does that?" He covered his face with his hands and began to weep. There, in the middle of the park, my 40-year-old son cried like a child. I panicked, Mom. When Jenna died, I went into total despair. I couldn't look at Ethan without thinking of her, without feeling that unbearable pain. And Vanessa, she appeared in my life when I was at rock bottom. She offered me a way out, an escape. And Ethan? You didn't think about him? About how he would feel without a father and without a mother? I thought you would take better care of him than I could. I was destroyed, Mom. I wasn't in any condition to raise a child. I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing? My voice rose. The right thing was to stay and face your responsibilities. The right thing was to take care of your son. But you chose to run away. I know I was a coward. He was sobbing now. And I paid for it, Mom. I paid dearly. What do you mean? Caleb wiped his tears and looked at me. Vanessa left me 3 years ago. She met another guy, younger, with more money. I was used, Mom. She never really loved me. And when I realized that, when I saw myself alone, without her, without you, without my son, I fell apart. Part of me felt pity for him. But the stronger part, the part that spent 12 years raising Ethan alone, couldn't feel much compassion. And what do you want now? Forgiveness? For me to say everything is okay? No. I know everything isn't okay. I know it never will be. But I wanted to meet Ethan. To see my son. To try, in some way, to be part of his life. My heart pounded. No, Caleb. Absolutely not. Mom, please. No, Caleb, you have no idea how hard it was to raise that boy, how much I fought so he could have a minimally normal life. He is happy now, he is stable, and you are not going to waltz into his life and destroy everything. I am his father. You are nothing! I was yelling now, and people around us were staring. You lost the right to be called father when you abandoned him. A father is the one who raises, who is present, who loves. You are just the man who provided the genetic material. Caleb fell silent, shrinking into the bench. After a while, he said quietly, "Okay, I understand. But there is another thing I need to tell you." "What?" "I'm sick, Mom. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave me 6 months, maybe a year. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach." "What?" "I found out 3 months ago. I have no one, Mom. No one, really. And I don't want to die without making peace with you. Without at least seeing my son once." Tears began to roll down my face. No matter what Caleb had done, he was still my son, and now he was dying. "Caleb," I'm not asking to enter his life permanently. I just want to see him from afar, if necessary. I just want to see what kind of person he has become, and then I'll go, I promise. I stayed silent for a long time. My mind was in conflict. Protecting Ethan was my priority, but denying Caleb the chance to see his son one last time before dying seemed too cruel. I'll think about it, I finally replied, but I promise nothing. Ethan is my priority. If I think seeing you will hurt him in any way, the answer is no. Caleb nodded. Thank you, Mom. It's more than I deserve. He handed me a slip of paper with his phone number and the address where he was living, a rented room in a run-down part of Atlanta. Then he got up to leave. Before walking away, he looked at me one more time. Mom, you did an incredible job raising Ethan. I know that, and I am sorry, so sorry for putting that weight on your shoulders. I sat on that bench for another hour after he left, crying alone, thinking about everything that had happened. Caleb was dying. My son, with all his flaws and terrible mistakes, was dying, and I didn't know what to do. I spent the following weeks in a state of constant anguish. I didn't tell Ethan anything, of course. He continued his normal routine, going to school, playing with friends, telling me about classes and teachers. But I was divided inside, carrying a secret that weighed like lead. One part of me thought Caleb deserved to see Ethan at least once. After all, he was dying. The other part told me to protect my grandson at all costs. Ethan had a stable, happy life. Why risk that? 2 weeks after the meeting in the park, Caleb called. Mom, did you think about what we discussed? I thought about it. I haven't stopped thinking about it, actually. And what is your decision? I took a deep breath. You can see him. But from afar, Ethan plays soccer at the community club every Saturday morning. You can go there and watch the game. But do not approach him. Do not speak to him. Just watch. Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. The following Saturday, I took Ethan to soccer practice as always. He was excited because he was going to play a friendly match against another team. Nana, you're going to watch me play, right? Yes, my love. I always watch you. I stayed in the bleachers as usual, but my gaze wasn't completely focused on the game. I was looking for Caleb, and then I saw him. He was on the other side of the field, half hidden behind a pole, wearing a cap and sunglasses. He was trying to go unnoticed, but I recognized him immediately. I watched as Caleb watched his son play. Even from a distance, I could see the tears streaming down his face. I could see how he leaned forward every time Ethan got the ball, how he smiled when Ethan scored a goal. It was the first time in 12 years he had seen his own son. Ethan played very well that day. He scored 2 goals and helped the team win 3-1. When the game ended, he ran toward me, all sweaty and happy. Did you see, Nana? I scored 2 goals. I saw, baby. You were incredible. I hugged him tight, and when I looked toward where Caleb had been, he was already gone. That night, Caleb called me. He was crying so hard he could barely speak. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for letting me see my son. He is handsome, he is smart, talented, and all of that is thanks to you. I did what any grandmother would do. No, you did much more than that. You saved that boy. I threw him away like trash, and you transformed him into an incredible kid. We stayed silent for a few seconds. Then Caleb spoke. Mom, can I ask one more thing? What? Can I keep watching his games? Just that. I promise I won't get close. I won't talk to him. I just want to be able to see him while I still can. I sighed. Okay, but if at any moment I think Ethan notices something strange, you stop. Understood? Understood. Thank you, Mom. For the next 3 months, Caleb was present at every one of Ethan's soccer games, always hidden, always distant, but always there. I watched him watch his son, and my heart broke. What a waste those 12 years had been. Caleb could have been part of Ethan's life, seen him grow, created memories together, but he chose to run, and now only this little bit of time remained. Caleb's health worsened rapidly. The last few times I saw him at the games, he was visibly thinner, weaker, needing to lean on a cane. One Saturday morning, he didn't show up. I was worried, but I didn't call. I thought maybe he felt ill or had a doctor's appointment. The following Monday, I received a call from a hospital. Miss Sylvia, this is Grady Memorial Hospital. Mr. Caleb gave us your contact as the person to be notified in case of emergency. He was admitted yesterday, and he would like to see you. My heart raced. How is he? It's better if you come down here. He is in critical condition. I dropped Ethan off at school and went straight to the hospital. I found Caleb in an ICU bed, connected to various machines, his skin jaundiced and his eyes sunken. When he saw me, he tried to smile, but could barely manage it. "Hi, Mom," he whispered with difficulty. "Hi, my son." I held his hand, and it was like holding a fistful of bones covered in skin. "How are you?" "Dying," he answered with brutal honesty. "The doctor said it's a matter of days, maybe hours." Tears began to roll down my face. It didn't matter what had happened. This was still my boy. "Caleb, don't cry, Mom. I deserve this. I deserve to die like this, alone, after everything I did." "Don't say that. It's true. I destroyed my own life. I abandoned my son. I pushed away the people who loved me. I wasted years I could have spent with you guys." He coughed, and I saw blood on the tissue he used to wipe his mouth. "But I want you to know one thing." "What?" "Seeing Ethan play soccer these past few months. Those were the happiest days of my life in the last 12 years. Being able to see him grow, see what kind of person he is, knowing he is okay, that gave me peace. I couldn't stop crying. Do you want me to tell him you're alive? That you were at his games?" Caleb thought for a long moment. "No. Let him keep thinking I died 12 years ago. It's better this way. He has you, and you are enough. He doesn't need to carry the weight of knowing his father abandoned him." "But Caleb..." "Mom, please. It's the last thing I ask of you. Let Ethan be happy with the truth he knows. He lost his father and mother young, but he had an amazing grandmother who raised him with love. That is a beautiful story. Don't ruin that by telling the truth about me." Caleb died the next morning, alone in the hospital. I was there holding his hand when his heart stopped. Those were some of the most painful moments of my life. Watching my son die, knowing he wasted so much time, so much love, so much life because of wrong choices. I organized a simple funeral. There weren't many people to notify. Caleb had cut ties with everyone during those years. It was just me, a few acquaintances from his recent jobs, and 2 neighbors from his building. I didn't tell Ethan anything. He didn't even know his father had been alive all this time. A week after the funeral, while cleaning out Caleb's things in the small room where he lived, I found something that shocked me. Dozens of notebooks, all filled with letters written to Ethan, letters that were never sent. I sat on the floor of that tiny room and began to read. Each letter was dated, from the day Caleb abandoned Ethan until the week before he died. 12 years of letters. He wrote to his son, told him about his day, apologized, spoke about regrets, about love. "Dear Ethan, today you turned 5. I wonder how you are. If you are tall or short. If you like playing with cars or balls. If you know how to read yet. Your father here knows nothing about you, and the fault is entirely mine. I hope you are happy. I hope your grandmother is giving you all the love I didn't have the courage to give." I wept reading those letters. There were hundreds of them, one for every week of those 12 years. Caleb might have abandoned Ethan physically, but in his mind, he never stopped being a father. I kept all those notebooks. I didn't know when, but one day I would show them to Ethan, when he was older, when he could understand. Not now. But one day, life went on. Ethan grew. He became a teenager. At 15, he started showing interest in technology. I bought him a used laptop, and Ethan spent hours learning about coding, digital marketing, and how the internet worked. "Nana, did you know you can make money on the internet?" he told me excitedly. "I can create websites, do marketing for companies, work from home." I barely understood what he was talking about, but I saw the shine in his eyes, and that was enough. Ethan had found his passion. At 17, he made his first money creating a website for a local bakery. He earned $200 and was so proud he kept the first bill like a trophy. "One day I'm going to make a lot more, Nana, and I'm going to buy a big house for us." I smiled, but I didn't put much stock in it. I was satisfied with what we had, a simple apartment, but ours, thanks to the Harringtons. Food on the table, health. It was enough. But Ethan had other plans. At 18, he started a digital marketing agency. He started alone, working from his bedroom, handling small clients. After 6 months, he had 10 steady clients. Within a year, he had 20. "Nana, we need to talk," he told me one Sunday morning, 2 days after his 20th birthday. "What is it, sweetie?" "Sit here." He led me to the living room and opened his laptop. "Look at this." On the screen, I saw numbers that made no sense. A lot of zeros. "What is this?" "That's my bank account, Nana. I saved $500,000. I looked at him, then at the screen, then at him again. "What? $500,000? My agency grew a lot. I have contracts with major companies now. And Nana, the first thing I'm going to do with this money is put a down payment on a house. For us." I began to cry. Not tears of sadness, but of pride, of gratitude, of love. That baby who was abandoned on my doorstep 20 years ago had become a successful man. "Ethan, I don't need a big house. We are fine here. But I want to, Nana. I want to give you everything you deserve. You worked your whole life to raise me. You sacrificed everything for me. Now it's my turn to take care of you." 3 months later, we moved into a beautiful house in an exclusive suburb of Atlanta. It had 3 bedrooms, a garden, and a huge kitchen where I could finally cook to my heart's content. It was a dream. Ethan continued to grow professionally. At 22, his agency was one of the most respected in the city. He was featured in magazines, gave talks. They called him a digital marketing prodigy. I watched all of this with tears of pride in my eyes. My grandson, who could have grown up in foster care or in miserable conditions, was flying high, and all because I didn't give up on him. But our peace was about to be interrupted. One Thursday morning, I was in the garden watering the plants when the doorbell rang. I went to answer it without suspecting a thing. Standing at the door was a woman in her 50s, well-dressed, with a man in a suit beside her. She smiled when she saw me. "Ms. Sylvia? My name is Vanessa. I believe we've heard of each other." My blood ran cold. "Vanessa, the woman who destroyed my family, my son's mistress. What do you want?" "I came here to talk about Ethan. About the rights of my late partner, Caleb. About the boy's estate." "Estate? What estate?" "Caleb died with nothing." Vanessa smiled, but it was a cold, calculated smile. "I'm not talking about the inheritance Caleb left. I'm talking about the assets Ethan has built. As Caleb's common-law partner for many years, and since Caleb never legally renounced his paternity, I have rights regarding Caleb's estate, which includes his rightful claim to his son's success." I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. "Are you crazy? Ethan built everything himself. With the last name Montgomery, his father's name. Legally, Caleb had rights over his son," the lawyer interjected smoothly, "and as his common-law wife, Miss Vanessa inherits those interests. We are here to discuss a settlement." "Get out of my house," I was screaming now. "Get out before I call the police." Vanessa didn't move. "Miss Sylvia, there is no need to get nervous. We just want what is ours by right. My lawyer here, Mr. Silver, has all the necessary documentation." It was at that moment that Ethan appeared behind me. "What are you guys talking about?" Ethan looked at Vanessa and the lawyer with a confused expression. I was paralyzed, not knowing what to say. How could I explain to my grandson in a matter of seconds that his father hadn't died 20 years ago, that he had been alive for 12 of them after the abandonment, and that there was a woman now trying to steal what was his? Vanessa was faster. "Ethan? My name is Vanessa. I was your father, Caleb's partner. I am so sorry for your loss." "My loss?" Ethan looked at me, then at Vanessa. "My father died when I was a baby. Technically, he died 8 years ago." Vanessa corrected with disturbing calm. "But your grandmother never told you that, did she?" I saw the world crumble in Ethan's eyes. "Nana, what is she talking about?" My legs went weak, and I had to lean against the doorframe. "Ethan, can I explain? Your father abandoned you when you were 6 months old," Vanessa continued, completely ignoring my attempt to intervene. "He chose me. We lived together for years, and then he died of cancer. And as his common-law wife, and since he never legally terminated his parental rights, I have a claim on his estate, which includes a portion of what you have built." "That is a lie." I finally found my voice. "You have no right to anything." Ethan was pale. He looked at me with an expression I will never forget. Betrayal, pain, confusion. "Nana, is it true? My father was alive, and you never told me?" "Ethan, my love, Let me explain. Is it true or not? I lowered my head, tears already falling. It's true, but I did it to protect you. Ethan took a step back, as if I had slapped him. Protect me? You lied to me for 20 years. He abandoned you, Ethan. He left you on my doorstep like garbage. I wanted to spare you that pain. That wasn't your decision to make. Ethan was shouting now, tears streaming down his face too. You didn't have the right to decide what I should or shouldn't know about my own father. Vanessa watched everything with a satisfied smile. The lawyer, at least, seemed uncomfortable with the situation. Ethan, I tried to approach him, but he pulled away. Please, listen to me. No. Not right now. He looked at Vanessa and the lawyer. What exactly do you want? Since your father never renounced his parental rights, the lawyer explained, and since Miss Vanessa can prove a common-law marriage with him for years, she has a right to represent his interests. We are demanding 40% of your current assets plus a monthly stipend of $5,000 in restitution. Ethan laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of joy. It was a laugh of total disbelief. 40%? You guys are insane. It's what the law determines, Vanessa said naturally, as if she were asking to borrow sugar. The law. Ethan was shaking with rage. So my father, this man you are using as an excuse, abandoned me when I was 6 months old, disappeared for 12 years, and you think you have a right to something? The law doesn't care about emotional issues, young man, the lawyer replied. It cares about legal documents, and all the documents are in our favor. In that moment, something changed in Ethan. He stopped shaking, wiped his tears, and became completely calm, a calm that scared me. I understand. You want a legal war? You're going to get one. Ethan, be reasonable, Vanessa tried. We can resolve this amicably. Get the hell out of my house. Now. Young man, get out. The lawyer took Vanessa by the arm and guided her out. Before leaving, Vanessa turned to Ethan. You're going to regret this. See you in court. As soon as they left, Ethan turned to me. I need some time alone. I don't want to talk to you right now. Ethan, please. No! He yelled so loud I took a step back. You lied to me for 20 years. 20 years, Nana. You made me believe my father was dead, that he loved me, that he was a hero. And I find out now that he was a coward who abandoned me, and you never told me. I did what I thought was best. For who? For me or for you? Because I think you just didn't want to be the villain of the story. You preferred to turn my father into a martyr rather than tell me the truth. Ethan's words cut deeper than any knife. Was it true? Did I lie to protect him? Or to protect myself? To avoid dealing with the hard questions, with the possibility that Ethan might want to meet his father? I love you, Ethan. Everything I did was out of love. Love isn't based on lies. He grabbed his car keys and headed for the door. I'm going to a hotel. I need to think. Ethan, no. But he was already out, slamming the door behind him. I heard his car start and pull out of the driveway, and then I stood there, alone in the house he had bought for us, feeling as if I had lost everything. For 3 days, Ethan didn't answer my calls, didn't reply to my texts. I was desperate, not knowing what to do. The house was empty without him. The kitchen where I made his favorite meals was silent. The garden where we used to have breakfast together on Sundays was abandoned. On the 4th day, Ethan returned. But he was a different Ethan, colder, more distant. He walked in, placed a file folder on the kitchen table, and sat down. Nana, sit here. I sat with my soul hanging by a thread. These past few days I thought a lot, about everything, and I reached some conclusions. Ethan, let me speak. He took a deep breath. What you did was wrong. Lying to me for 20 years about my father was wrong. No matter what your intentions were, I had the right to know the truth. I lowered my head, tears falling into my lap. But, Ethan continued, his voice softening, I also understand why you did it. You were trying to protect me. You were trying to give me a normal childhood without the burden of knowing I was abandoned. And for that, I forgive you. I looked up, surprised. What? I forgive you, Nana. Because despite the lie, everything else you did was out of true love. You raised me when no one else wanted to. You worked until you dropped to give me food, clothes, education. You sacrificed your life for mine. That is real love. I began to cry uncontrollably. Ethan got up, came over to me, and hugged me. But there can be no more secrets between us, okay? From now on, only the truth. Only the truth, I promised between sobs. And about Vanessa, Ethan said, returning to his chair. I hired the best lawyers in Atlanta, and we discovered some interesting things. Ethan opened the folder he had brought. Inside were documents, photos, official papers. My lawyers investigated Vanessa, and we found out that she never had a common-law marriage with my father. They lived together for barely 2 years, and she left him long before he died. My eyes went wide. So she was lying completely? There is no document proving a domestic partnership, no lease in both names, no joint account, nothing. She just heard about me, about my success, and decided to try her luck. And her lawyer is a strip mall ambulance chaser who took the case just to squeeze money out of her. My lawyers already contacted him. When we showed the evidence, he dropped the case immediately. I felt a relief so huge I thought I would faint. So, it's over? She won't get a dime. Not only that, we are countersuing for attempted extortion and filing a restraining order. She'll have to pay legal fees, and she might even face fraud charges. Ethan, how did you find out all this so fast? He smiled. Nana, I work with information. I know how to find what I need, and when you have money, things move faster. That afternoon, Ethan told me everything he had discovered. Vanessa had a history of relationships with older men, always trying to gain financial advantage. She had already sued 2 ex-boyfriends for support without success. She was a professional scammer. But there is one thing I still don't understand, Ethan said, looking at me. You said my father abandoned me, but he never tried to come back? He never tried to see how I was? I sighed. It was time to tell the whole truth. He came back when you were 12. He appeared in my life asking to see you. He was dying of cancer. Ethan went pale. What? He watched your soccer games for 3 months. From afar. Always hidden. And then he died. He asked me not to tell you. He thought it would be better if you continued thinking he had died along with your mother. Ethan stayed silent for a long time. Then he asked, did he regret what he did to me? Yes. He spent 12 years regretting it. He told me that watching you play soccer were the happiest days of his last years of life. I got up, went to my room, and came back with the notebooks. All the notebooks filled with letters Caleb wrote. I kept these for you. These are letters your father wrote over 12 years, one for every week. He never sent them, but he wrote them thinking of you. Ethan took the notebooks with trembling hands. He opened the first one, read the first letter, and began to cry. He spent the entire night reading those letters, and I sat beside him, holding his hand. When he finished, it was already morning. Ethan looked at me with red, swollen eyes. He was a coward. But he was also human. He made terrible mistakes. But in the end, he repented. I don't know if I can forgive him, but I understand a little better now. In the following days, Vanessa tried to contact us a few more times, always with empty threats. But Ethan's lawyers were relentless. She ended up leaving the city to avoid the extortion charges. Ethan went back to work normally. The agency continued to grow, but something had changed between us. Now, there were no secrets. He asked me about Caleb whenever he had questions, and I answered with sincerity. We talked about Jenna, his mother, about what she was like. I showed him photos I had saved. 2 years later, when Ethan was 22, he created a foundation, not in my name, but in his mother's name, the Jenna Montgomery Foundation for Grandmothers and Grandchildren, a foundation to help grandmothers who, like me, were left responsible for raising grandchildren when parents abandoned them or died. Why her name? I asked, moved. Because my mother didn't have a choice. She didn't abandon me. She died. But you and she, you both loved me. And I want to honor both of you. On the day of the foundation's inauguration, they called me up to give a speech. I stood in front of hundreds of people and told my story. I told them about the day I found Ethan abandoned, about the years of struggle, about the pain and the love. Raising a child is always hard, I said, but raising an abandoned grandchild without resources, without support, is one of the greatest challenges anyone can face. However, it is also one of the greatest blessings. Ethan gave me purpose when I thought my life was over. He gave me love when I was alone. And today, Seeing the extraordinary man he has become is worth every tear, every sleepless night, every sacrifice. The audience gave a standing ovation. Ethan was in the front row, crying and smiling at the same time. Today, 5 years after everything that happened with Vanessa, I can say that I am happy. Ethan married a wonderful woman, Sophia, who treats me as if I were her own grandmother. They gave me 2 great-grandchildren, Jenna and Caleb, named in honor of Ethan's parents. When I hold those babies, I remember the day I found Ethan abandoned in the hallway. I remember the pain, the fear, the uncertainty. But I also remember the love, the unconditional love that made me fight, that made me keep going, even when everything seemed impossible. Ethan built an empire. Today he has one of the largest digital marketing agencies in the country. He appears in Forbes, gives interviews, is invited to international conferences, but when he comes home, he is still my grandson. He still calls me every day, visits me every Sunday for family dinner, and when someone asks him about his success story, he always gives the same answer. I am who I am because of my grandmother. She saved me when I was discarded, loved me when I was rejected, and taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about who stays when everyone else leaves. The truth is, Caleb gave me a gift that terrible day he abandoned Ethan. He gave me the opportunity to love unconditionally, to have a purpose, to raise someone extraordinary. And for that, in a strange and unexpected way, I am grateful. Life has these ironies. What seemed to be the end of everything turned into the beginning of something beautiful. And today, at 72 years old, I can say with certainty, it was worth every second. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you want access to exclusive content and to help the channel grow, consider becoming a member. Your presence here means everything to me. Until the next story.